It is my honor this morning to get to share a reflection written by Carmen Barsody, one of the co-founders of the Faithful Fools. For those who don't know the Faithful Fools, they were founded in 1998 here in San Francisco's Tenderloin by Carmen, a Franciscan nun, and Reverend Kay Jorgensen, a Unitarian Universalist minister, who together discovered their ministry in the streets of San Francisco. The Faithful Fools ministry is one of witnessing and presence. The core belief is that we discover on the streets our common humanity. The Fools' work includes accompaniment, arts, advocacy, and other programming, both on the streets of the Tenderloin as well as in the Faithful Fools building in the Tenderloin, and places such as this church, the halls of City Hall. We have discovered that these streets can be anywhere where we are, in our homes, our offices, and places all over the world: Nicaragua, Redwood City, Vancouver, and other streets where Fools have done and continue to do their work. As I said, Kay and Carmen founded the Faithful Fools in 1998. Kay went on later to become a minister at this church as well, at which time I was given the opportunity, an invitation to join on one of the Faithful Fools street retreats, a simple invitation to come and join in witnessing that has changed my life more than almost any other invitation. For the past almost 20 years, I've worked with the Faithful Fools as a volunteer, sometimes in a professional capacity, and very glad to be able to present this here today on Carmen's behalf. Now, for those of you who don't know Carmen, I would like you to picture a smile as bright as the sun shining off of the ocean, on a face as soft as a redwood forest, all held up by the strength and steadiness of a mountain. Now that you've got Carmen's face pictured, I will share her reflection. It was an early morning in Nicaragua when I awoke, and as I walked out of my room, heading to the kitchen for coffee, I paused in the walkway and looked out into the barrio, the neighborhood in which we lived. My eyes fell on the barbed wire fences, on the houses made of sheets of iron or slabs of wood, and a few made of concrete blocks. I noticed the sounds of people who had already begun to start their day. I heard the rhythm of someone's hand making tortillas, pat, 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 pat. I could hear someone bathing, using a bowl to splash water from a plastic barrel they had filled a couple of nights ago, when running water made one of its rare appearances. We were all accustomed to gathering and rationing water because we never knew when it would come through the pipes again. As I stood looking out, I began thinking of the ones who were working hard in sweatshops and in the markets, yet didn't have enough to eat. Some of the young people from our youth group were already feeling their bodies worn down from leaning over sewing machines all day. I found myself thinking of the many who were navigating the effects of trauma from years of war, often drinking to blur the memories. As my eyes and heart took in the scene, I heard a voice say inside me, "I never want to wake up where this reality is not before me." Fast forward 23 years, and I awaken looking out the windows of the Fool's Court into the streets of the Tenderloin of San Francisco. I see tents zipped up as some people are still sleeping. I look across the street and see people laying on the sidewalk, unprotected by a tent or a blanket, while others lean against the building after being awake all night. I see parents holding the hands of their children as they navigate the crowded sidewalks. There are street cleaners rolling their big plastic cans down the sidewalk, helping to keep the neighborhood clean. A few people are wearing masks, but it takes a special effort to remember to do so. For most of our neighbors, the threat from this new virus is not much different than any of the other threats they and their parents and grandparents have lived with for decades. When Vanessa and I spoke about today's theme, the power of witnessing, she said, "Isn't that what the street retreats are all about?" Her question reminded me of a foundational book for us faithful fools titled Bearing Witness by Bernie Glassman. It is a book we read together each year as we prepare for our 7-day street retreats. It is a book that Kay Jorgensen and I used when we taught the course, The Crossroads of the Community and Parish at Starr King School for the Ministry. The reason we call our founding action as fools a retreat, a street retreat, and not a tour, is that when I retreat, I go with an intention to look inside and out, to gain a little insight into myself and my life and ways. I retreat because I long for greater clarity and direction. I retreat with an intention to correct ways that are not helpful, or maybe even are destructive to me and to the community around me. I share with you a passage we often read from in Bearing Witness to begin a street retreat. Earlier, I quoted the famous Jewish prayer, Shema Israel. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The Buddhist service that we perform on the streets of New York City's Bowery begins, attention, attention. When we say attention, what do we mean? When we really listen, when we really pay attention to the sounds of joy and suffering in the universe, then we are not separate from them. We become them. Because in reality, we are not separate from those who suffer. We are them. They are us. It is our suffering, and it is our joy. When we don't listen, we are shutting ourselves off, not from others, but from ourselves. We can't do any of this from a place of knowing. When we think we know something, we don't listen. We have to empty ourselves over and over, return to unknowing, and just listen and listen. And once we listen, we have to act. The functioning that comes out of listening, out of attention, is compassionate action. If we don't listen, we can't act with compassion. So says Bernie Glassman. We see the decades of social and racial inequalities being laid bare in our streets and across the globe during this pandemic. It was an intentional choice for me and my Franciscan community to live in the marginalized barrios of Nicaragua. And it is an intentional choice for faithful fools to live in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. I am there. We are there. We are here because we have a responsibility to bear witness and to act with compassion. Thank you, Carmen.